In this podcast episode, Mark Manson and his co host explore a wide range of themes centered on uncertainty, personal growth, relationships, and the cultural complexities of modern life. They delve into how individuals navigate ambiguity, manage expectations, and confront internal and external challenges. From the struggles of living authentically to the paradoxes of technology and societal change, Mark provides insight into why many people feel lost despite having access to an abundance of information and what it takes to make meaningful progress. Mark opens with the essential skill of learning to live happily with uncertainty. He underscores that no one truly knows what is going on all the time, including himself, which is a universal human experience. As information access grows exponentially, the confidence in understanding reality paradoxically diminishes. Humans instinctively seek certainty to build a stable worldview, but in an era of constant flux, this becomes increasingly difficult. A rigid adherence to one belief can lead to radicalization or delusion when that belief inevitably collapses. Anxiety, as discussed, is deeply related to attempts to compress uncertainty, often by imagining catastrophic futures, which ironically generates even more uncertainty and stress. Instead of narrowing focus on precise predictions, cultivating cognitive flexibility and zooming out to broader perspectives creates a healthier space for confidence, such as understanding societal adaptability to technological change in the macro, rather than obsessing over personal outcomes in the micro. Drawing from recent global upheavals like COVID-19, Mark highlights how life's shocks expose personal and systemic fragility. People either spiraled downward or thrived, with many outcomes dictated by random circumstances beyond individual control. This chaos challenges the illusion of preparedness and underscores the fallacy of needing certainty before action. True robustness involves embracing uncertainty and building internal resilience rather than micromanaging or pre-planning every contingency. Fragility arises when people demand high certainty and minimal ambiguity, making them vulnerable to failure when unexpected events occur. Mark distinguishes between state confidence, momentary feelings of competence in specific situations, and trait confidence, a deeper, more enduring belief formed by lived experience through uncertainty. Trait confidence cannot be engineered or fast-tracked. It emerges over time by repeatedly encountering adversity, surviving it, and internalizing that survival as evidence of future capability. This is akin to a form of difficulty exposure therapy that allows individuals to tolerate discomfort and failure. The infamous dark night of the soul moments are essential in building this trait confidence, reminding listeners that life's hardest experiences both test and establish their psychological foundation. Mark also reflects on the inverse relationship between convenience and significance. Easy wins, expedited by technology, tend to be forgettable because they lack the friction and sacrifice that give achievements meaning. He draws attention to how modern life often deprives people of important experiences that cultivate resilience and satisfaction, from relationships to career achievements. Even mundane inconveniences, like the awkwardness of making an unsolicited phone call, constitute connective tissue for human intimacy. This idea extends to romantic relationships, where overcoming challenges together validates personal safety and deepens connections. Ultimately, friction isn't just an obstacle, but a necessary ingredient for significance. The conversation shifts toward the modern dating landscape, critiquing how apps prioritize convenience, which erodes the natural filtration mechanisms embedded in friction. This simplification can lead to poorer compatibility and less meaningful connections. Mark encourages listeners to identify non-negotiables in partnerships rather than unrealistically expecting perfection, a principle inspired by Warren Buffett's advice to narrow down one's priorities. Furthermore, compatibility goes beyond superficial traits. It involves an alignment of deeper psychological and lifestyle factors, emotional capacities, and daily habits. He mentions Rory Sutherland's metaphor of the air fryer girlfriend, meaning a partner whose perceived disadvantages only you fully appreciate and accept, someone uniquely suited to your personal tolerances and strengths. Mark critiques the concept of average in advice and product design, pointing out that no one truly fits a statistical median. This misalignment leads to generalized recommendations that often fail to accommodate personal idiosyncrasies. Like the U.S. fighter jet seat designed for the average pilot that fit none, standardized advice rarely suits everyone. Personal development and optimization advice must be adaptable to individual differences, and people should be encouraged to experiment and discern what genuinely works for them, rather than blindly following cookie-cutter solutions. The episode touches on the complexities of modern social and cultural dynamics, particularly in relation to empathy and victimhood. Mark calls out what he describes as shallow empathy that reduces people to categories defined by identity or adversity. This approach, exemplified in Victimhood Olympics, can be alienating and patronizing, failing to engage with people as full individuals capable of resilience and growth. True equality involves holding people accountable to the same standards and capabilities, not shielding them from criticism out of misplaced gentleness. Mark addresses the paradox introduced by technological advances that simplify tasks and increase convenience, but often diminish the fulfillment derived from the effort itself. He warns against mistaking speed and ease for the goals of personal growth or creative expression. For example, using AI to shortcut the production of creative work might accelerate results, but erodes the emotional satisfaction linked to accomplishment. He uses the analogy of video games with cheat codes, fun momentarily, but ultimately unsatisfying. This dynamic is not only relevant to creativity, but also to areas such as fitness, relationships, and learning, where real progress requires enduring friction and original engagement. A frank discussion arises about respect, priority, and effort within partnerships. Authentic respect should never feel like something one has to demand repeatedly. It should be a built-in quality reflecting genuine care. While small requests or explanations of love languages are normal in healthy relationships, systemic disrespect or lack of consideration implies fundamental incompatibility. Mark stresses that in a balanced partnership, each person prioritizes the other without calculating immediate returns, and mutual sacrifice is part of sustaining long-term connection. Emotional capacity and life circumstances influence the ability to show up, but prioritization remains pivotal. Mark and his co-host explore how a compulsion toward constant learning and self-improvement can become a form of procrastination. Consuming endless advice, therapy sessions, or self-help content without application creates a barrier preventing real-world progress. Particularly for intelligent, thoughtful individuals, the quest for insight can lead to paralysis and anxiety over execution, causing delays in meaningful action. They emphasize the importance of balancing knowledge acquisition with lived experience, acknowledging that many solutions only become effective through practice and not just intellectual understanding. The conversation turns more philosophical as Mark succinctly distills years of therapy and personal growth into core realities. No one is coming to save you. Strong boundaries are crucial. Many problems don't fully resolve but require learning to live with. The mind deceives with catastrophic fears. Acceptance of one's social circle and priorities is vital, and sometimes letting go is the healthiest choice. He critiques the modern era's tendencies toward victim culture and entitlement, championing personal responsibility and resilience without forsaking compassion for genuine hardship. Mark highlights cultural differences around enthusiasm, encouragement, and social norms, focusing on British versus American attitudes. British culture often prefers snarkiness or guardedness over vulnerability and open encouragement, which can inhibit personal expression and growth. Americans, by contrast, tend to embrace outspoken positivity and support, fostering a pioneer spirit. This cultural lens explains differences in entrepreneurial spirit, social acceptance of enthusiasm, and general mindset towards success and failure in various environments. Drawing on personal anecdotes and observations from celebrities like Will Smith and musicians like Louis Capaldi, Mark examines the paradoxes of fame and success. Many who achieve recognition lack the psychological disposition or support systems to manage immense pressure, leading to identity crises, burnout, or self-destruction. Fame often strips away natural social boundaries, requiring intentional reintroduction of friction and guardrails to sustain well-being and performance. The hidden sacrifices behind public success create a gulf between perception and reality, making envy perilous without understanding the true costs involved. In a world saturated by endless content and misinformation, Mark predicts a resurgence in the value placed on authoritative, credible sources. While democratized information was revolutionary, the abundance of low-quality material will drive listeners back to trusted experts with proven track records. Traditional media and established voices are likely to regain influence as audiences become more discerning amid AI-generated content floods. This will shift how knowledge is consumed, rewarding depth and authenticity over ubiquity and trendiness. The discussion returns to timeless existential themes, emphasizing the transformative power of confronting mortality. Periodic reminders of death salience, can break the cycle of distraction and doom scrolling, orienting people toward what truly matters. Mark reflects on Stoic and Buddhist teachings that harness awareness of impermanence to clarify values and inspire action. Embracing mortality encourages authenticity, gratitude, and prioritization of meaningful relationships and endeavors. Ending on an uplifting note, Mark urges listeners to recognize that the permission they have been seeking to pursue their desires or embrace their truths has always been within their own authority. The fear of judgment or failure often paralyzes action more than external obstacles. Often, what people truly need is reassurance to give themselves grace, permission to want change, and courage to embark on new paths despite uncertainty and imperfection. Encouragement and positive affirmation, especially from peers, can serve as powerful motivators to move from thoughtfulness to courageous action.